Hello, one and all present here. I am Rishank Jamayar from Grade 8. You know me as the chief editor of our school's monthly newsletter. I am a bookworm. Swimming and photography are my hobbies. I will be hosting this webinar, Click Here to Enter Class, the Gen Z Learner, where students of our school are going to present their views and experiences on the new e-learning system. Before we begin, some instructions to keep in mind. Kindly keep your camera and mic off throughout the webinar. Also, audience, this is an interactive webinar, which means we will be looking for your thoughts and opinions on certain points of discussion. So please share your views with us in the chat box. A wise man adapts himself to circumstances, as water shapes itself to the vessel that contains it. And isn't that exactly what we have done, friends? Adapted ourselves to a new way of learning? The current situation of the pandemic has compelled us to stay indoors and continue our education and work virtually. Fortunately, this is possible today due to well-developed technology. This webinar aims to encapsulate our experience of the past 6 months of becoming the Gen Z learners. Now, I would like to introduce my fellow panelists for the day. Our first panelist is Rakshant Premkumar from Grade 8, who is also the vice captain of Olive House. Rakshant enjoys playing the guitar and video games in his spare time. He also has a peculiar hobby, which is to read through the dictionary and learn new words. Our next panelist is Niket Shah. He has been part of TIS for the last 2 years and has been exposed to online learning in the past as well, when he was studying in the US. You may know him as one of the judges from our annual day play, Shakespeare on Trial. Niket loves to play chess and piano during his free time. Our next panelist is Cheryl Simpson from grade 9. She is an avid reader and in her free time likes listening to music. She is a brilliant writer and a gifted sketch artist and has been a member of the editorial board as well as the student council. Next, we have Maulik Sinha from grade 7. He loves to dance and play all kinds of games. He is a brilliant footballer and plays for the school football team. And finally, we have Miss Dhwani Furia from grade 7. She enjoys reading and adores writing. She claims to be an introvert but takes great interest in discussions and deliberations and hence is a part of our panel today. To begin with, I have a question for you, Rakshant. What were the initial challenges faced while migrating to online mode?
In the initial days, while starting off with the online mode, we faced various challenges. Firstly, technical issues. This was a major concern as not everyone had stable connections, which abruptly chucked students out of the class or created a delay between the voices in a student teacher conversation. Secondly, staying motivated. Gradually, as the class progressed, it lost color and turned gloomy. Students could just listen but not comprehend. It was difficult to while talking to a talking interact with the talking screen, as everyone turned off their cameras due to technical reasons or intentionally. This caused lack of in-person interaction. As per a survey by the WHO, 27% students studying at home cannot concentrate as there can be more distractions than usual, especially with family, and possibly siblings around. As a result of these distractions, you may have additional responsibilities, which makes time management even more challenging. Finally, adapting to unfamiliar technologies. In the beginning, most students and teachers face difficulties using the mic. For instance, during a class, we would heedlessly start speaking before turning on our mic and only later realize we were on mute. This wasted a lot of time. The pandemic has surely caused a change in the usual teaching and learning practices employed in the on campus classroom environments. But that does not mean that we are abandoned altogether. By instilling collaboration, frequent communication, and active learning into our classroom, we can still ensure students receive valuable and engaging educational experiences regardless of where learning takes place.
Thank you, Rakshant. And yes, I agree with you. I'm certain that our audience is also nodding their heads and affirming that we face quite a lot of challenges. But now, these are not challenges and have proved to be an important learning. Moving from school desks to our study tables at home wasn't easy at all. Most would say physical classes are easier than online classes for various reasons. Wouldn't we? This brings me to my next question, which is to you, Maulik. How different is virtual learning from classroom learning?
Well, Rishank, you remember when we were in school, we used to say, "Can I answer, ma'am?" It has now changed to, "Am I audible, ma'am?" in the virtual class. Teacher to student interactions, along with student to teacher and student to student interactions, are all part of the learning experience. Spontaneous and random interactions via questions or opinions are necessary to make learning fun and engaging. In the virtual classroom, the teacher is usually able to interact with only one student at a time, and it is from behind a computer screen, raising questions and listening to other students' opinions. Typically takes place through a chat box as opposed to real time face to face communication. We must have often heard or said that receiving an email or a text message is in the same as speaking with someone in person, because emails and texts are just simply words on a screen. They often display no emotion and reveal little about the author. The lack of emotion and contact does matter a lot to the students. An online class also lacks visual feedback. I remember teachers would realize if a topic was not understood well by us by simply looking at our faces. A bunch of bored faces gave signs to the teacher to introduce more interesting activities. I believe that a virtual classroom can never replace the experience of an actual classroom. However, due to an outbreak of the pandemic, the school had to shut down for the safety of the students, teaching, and the non teaching staff. But learning could not stop, and so the drift from physical classroom to virtual was a need of the hour.
Thank you, Maulik. Virtual learning is
Is it Divya?
definitely different from physical class. We
Dati ko
have
bola.
successfully completed one term now, using
De
all
aata na.
technology introduced to us, which has made us
Beta bhaiya.
experts. I am sure learning never stops at TIS, and I am sure we all have learned a lot of useful skills from our
Dati
classes.
ko bola.
What skills can students develop from online learning? What is your opinion on this, Niket?
Thank you, Rishant. That's a great question. There are many skills that one can develop from online learning. One of those skills is adaptability. As we all experienced, the transition from learning in a classroom to online felt a little weird initially, but then we eventually got used to the change. Because of online classes, we learned to adapt, which I'm sure everyone will agree is a very important skill in life. In addition, we can also learn discipline by joining our classes on time. Unlike before, the teacher isn't going to come into our class to teach now. Online learning teaches us to have discipline by joining the classes ourselves. Responsibility is on us. We take responsibility for our learning. It also makes us independent learners who are self-motivated, who are curious, and who take initiatives. Another important skill that we can develop through online learning is communication skills, which include verbal as well as listening skills. In online classes, your body language isn't as visible compared to being face to face in the classroom, meaning that you have to communicate using your voice more than usual. Thanks to this, we can learn to speak slowly and articulate more clearly and loudly. Time management is yet another skill that you can learn during this period of online learning. During this period, it is very essential to have a plan of what you're going to do during the day. What I like to do is to set aside a few hours of the day for any of my important work and assignments, and after which I can do leisure activities. During this time, you can also improve your technical skills. After all, we are spending several hours on our devices, so why not take the opportunity to learn more about them? But the list doesn't stop there. Several 21st century skills, such as critical thinking, problem solving, and leadership, can all be picked up by online learning.
Very rightly said by Niket. Thank you for your insights. Some of these skills were being practiced partially by us, but now they have become a habit. These skills are not only useful for now in school, but will go a long way in helping us in our professional lives in the future. Sitting for long periods of time in front of our laptops wasn't a thing we were normally accustomed to. Moving to a virtual classroom was a bit challenging, as we have heard from our panelists here. I was rather skeptical of how our teachers would teach us. Will there be activities? How will we do group projects and tasks? To answer such questions, I'd like to ask Cheryl. How were you kept engaged in your online lectures?
Thank you. The classes were really interactive, and our teachers tried their best to make it seem exactly like an actual classroom. For example, they asked a lot of questions, which encouraged active participation from all the students. This helped us focus on the lesson and connect each topic, just the way we did in an actual classroom. The use of presentations, Jamboards, and other interactive tools were also very helpful. We often used a platform called quizzes, which helped us revise the entire topic in an efficient manner. It also had a leaderboard, which increased the competitive spirit. Competition keeps people focused on trying to answer correctly in order to win. Since lessons are a tad bit harder to understand online, we were taught step by step and in a little more detail. I have benefited greatly from this since it improves my understanding behind a certain concept and allows me to make connections between the answer and the question. Lastly, I think it was easier overall for us to answer since we didn't have to speak, so we didn't have to be nervous about anything. It was quite easy to simply write the answer in the chat box, and that encouraged people to participate more. There are some drawbacks since it is very easy to get distracted during online classes, but we can learn a very crucial skill: self discipline. It is extremely important to develop self discipline from a young age, and I think that online classes are testing us all to our limits. If you think of it as a challenge, it will be easier to focus during classes since you're competing with yourself.
Wow, that was interesting. Thank you for such a detailed response. As you mentioned, we have been exposed to some new tech tools. Can you share your knowledge about the various platforms or tech tools we have been introduced to during the online sessions? What are some of the audience? We would love to hear from you. What are some of the things you have been classes? Please write your chat box.
I have been introduced to a variety of different platforms, some of which I didn't even know existed. The first one, of course, is Google Meet. I never ever thought that I need to use something from the G Suite at the age of 14. Not once. However, Google Meet has become my go-to for any kind of online meeting. It is extremely user-friendly and there are so many extensions that you can add to make your experience even better. I've already mentioned quizzes before. A few similar apps are Coggle, Padlet, and Jamboard. They are really easy, fun, and interactive to use. They make the learning process stress free, and when you do something that you enjoy, you tend to remember it better. Then we have Google Classroom and Gmail. I never liked using either of them, but I've come to appreciate both of them now. They're rather efficient. The only downside is when your mailbox gets filled with emails and then you tend to miss some. Lastly, we have everyone's favorite app, exam.net. Well, what can I say? It was intimidating at first, but then I got used to it. And after I got used to it, I became comfortable, and it was just like giving a normal test in class.
Wow, we have a very interactive audience. Bhavna ma'am has written Jamboard. We all have used Jamboard and it's very effective tech tool and helps us to collaborate and do our work at the same time. Luxar ma'am has also written Mentimeter and Coggle. Coggle helps us to make mind maps and map our thoughts out very easily. Thank you once again, Cheryl. I have a small question that is popping up in my mind. How is the learning different in online class when compared to physical classroom settings from the context of academic subjects and also practical subjects? Can you tell us something about this, Rakshant?
Sure. The learning part for theoretical subjects was quite the same, whereas for practical subjects like ICT, we were assigned tasks and instructed to present our screens once we had completed. In case any student had any difficulty, our teacher would access the student's device using any desk and help him or her out. For sciences, our teacher provided links for videos of experiments to aid us in understanding better, as no access was available for the laboratory. It helped the inquisitive learners in interpreting things better. Talking about dance and music, it really encouraged students as it was an unexpected move from school, taking initiatives for co curricular activities apart from academic learning. The teachers have been bringing latent talents and skills of their students through this platform.
Thank you for your insights, Rakshant. What about you, Dhwani?
Well, we get the relief from daily ritual of wearing uniforms, so we could wear whatever we found convenient. There were short breaks between classes, which we didn't get during offline. While the content for theoretical subjects was the same, the mechanism and design of tutelage delivery was different. For one, in projects or activities, we would usually have charts, glue, cutters, glitters, posters, etc. during offline school. However, in online school, there were applications such as Jamboard, PowerPoint, Word, and more for doing our projects or activities. I, for one, found the choice of using ebooks quite a wonderful experience, as these books allowed for annotation and quick Google search of difficult words that enriched my vocabulary. The teachers also taught us using YouTube videos and presentations, which was a combination of audio visual learning and made difficult topics more engaging and fun.
Thank you, Dhwani, for some more interesting points. Now, let's move this discussion to something that we all love about schools. Could anyone in the audience guess? I thought you would say that, but unfortunately, it's not PE and dance. Yes, Tasni ma'am is right. Exams. It was an easy guess. Don't we all love it? Anyways, on a serious note, we all have just recently finished them and are relieved. That brings me to the next topic of discussion assessments. Cheryl, can you share your assessment experience with us? What was it like?
I'd say perhaps the strangest part of all was sitting down at my desk to take an exam in my pajamas with a cup of hot chocolate and cookies by my side. If you had asked me what my perfect exam conditions, if those even exist, would be, that is how I would have described them. I really benefited from the new circumstances and I was definitely less stressed. There was no big exam hall, intimidating invigilators, or multitude of students alongside you. Jokes apart, there were also some flip sides to online assessments. Interruption in connectivity during an assessment is a big nightmare. Sometimes I felt it was tedious to turn all that handwritten and drawn work into a PDF, and then it was annoying to upload it onto the system. Formatting of images and texts becomes stressful sometimes, depending on the software available with you. But, like they say, man is a creature of habit. All things take time, and soon enough, after a few tests, I was making PDFs like a pro. Now, when I look back, it is less appalling and it has become rather effortless. It's all about the practice. All in all, I'd say it was different but interesting to give exams online. Well, the worst part was that everyone kept getting locked out and unmuting their mics to ask the teacher to unlock them. That was really distracting. Other than that, it was pretty good, unless your typing speed matches the pace of a tortoise. It was also neater and more simple to check my work. I liked it.
Thank you, Cheryl. I agree with you. Assessments are an integral part of the teaching and learning process and help us understand the concepts better. There may be distractions, but it is our responsibility to concentrate. That brings me to the next question. What are some of the challenges faced when taking online classes? Can you answer this, Dhwani?
Of course, there are distractions in the form of other people coming in and going out, as well as loud noises. The physical distance from the board makes it difficult to read, as does the blurring of the screen. While some places have perfect internet connectivity, others do not, and sometimes have to keep rejoining, which makes them miss certain parts of the teacher's explanation. There are also other challenges, as in classes such as dance and PE. Some students have very little space, as is the case with any urban living. Also, the management of camera angle becomes a challenge, and in music, not everyone has a keyboard to do the required hands on. Considering that this is a new experience for us all, we also have some problems typing and sometimes making many simple typo errors. Time management is another problem, as we are not used to writing our exams, assignments, and tests on an electronic device. Group activities could also be challenging, as we are all at home and play at different times. This makes it more difficult to gather everyone at the same time. There is also the trial and error phase, as some of us don't understand how the Google Drive works, how to scan, how to turn in our assignments, etc. Sometimes we do not have the software needed to complete our assignment, which is also how we learn alternatives to the software used by others. However, having said all that about challenges, I think what makes it all still possible is the discipline with which we approach online learning. If the attitude is right, no challenge is too difficult to overcome. And the same is the case with virtual classrooms too.
Thank you, Dhwani. Having heard all of this, I have a question for the audience now. Audience, where do you think there is more distraction? In a physical classroom or in an online class? Please let us know in the chat box. We are waiting for your contributions. In the meanwhile, would any of the panelists like to add something?
Yes. In my opinion, distracting the physical classroom, that is moving it off topic, was way easier than in the online mode. As if I pass a gossip to one of my friend, it will circulate around the class easily. But that's not the case currently. I turn on my mic and everyone waits to listen to me. It's very difficult to distract the class.
Personally, I think an online classroom has more distractions. Internet, open tabs, WhatsApp, etc. are make it easy to sway the students' attention from the class.
What distracts me the most is when my parents invade my study space for taking their charger, going from one place to another, and numerous other reasons.
I'd say both have equal drawbacks. In an actual classroom, you can talk to your classmates and it tends to be more noisy. But in online class, you have the lure of social media to distract you.
That's a good point, Cheryl. On top of that, all the notifications constantly ringing on your phone is probably more than enough to distract most people.
I agree with you, Maulik. I have an elder brother who does the same. Our audience is very active today. A lot of people has put in their responses. Preksha ma'am has written both actually. I agree. Both have equal drawbacks. Hina ma'am has written online class. And Chaitra ma'am has also written online class. In the light of whatever we have discussed so far, it has become evident that it is very easy to be distracted in an online class. So, How can the students increase focus in an online class? Audience, do you have any tips for us? The chat box is all yours. Post your answers there. Panelists, what strategies do you suggest?
Even though our camera is off and the teacher is not watching us, maintaining the right body posture is extremely important. Slouching or lying down during online lectures can take away our concentration. In our physical classrooms, our teachers keep reminding us to sit upright, but in the virtual classroom, it's our responsibility to ensure that we do so.
Studying in a room with minimal distractions would be best. The less distractions, the better. We can also take notes. We can also take notes to stay focused and concentrated during class. But they will also help us later during revision.
Self-discipline, as I mentioned earlier, is crucial. You could eliminate distractions such as social media by keeping your phones away from you during classes. Another way is to create a timetable and stick to it. The pair strategy is also rather effective since you have a friend to share the burden with.
There are several ways to remain focused. For starters, try to bring all your material together at the start of the class. You are more likely to pick up what the teachers say if you brought all your materials with you instead of running off to bring that one notebook. Next, try to be more interactive. If you answer regularly, you are less likely to zone out in class. Lastly, try to stay in a quiet place in your house so that you can focus solely on the class and ignore distractions.
This is quite impressive, isn't it? Thank you, panelists. We have some amazing strategies being posted in the chat box. Like Jessica has written, stay hydrated. I agree. Staying hydrated is extremely important for health and also helps in concentration. Nisha ma'am has also written using a study table and chair. If you isolate an area for your studies, you won't have to get up and go anywhere or get distracted. Ruksar ma'am has also written not to sit near the window. When you sit near the window, a lot of noise are there from the cars passing by and the hawkers. This will tend to distract you. You may even start to look outside. It is phenomenal to see that our audience did not fall into the trap of the various distractions and attended lectures with complete focus. In recent times, cyber hygiene and netiquette have become an issue and hence very important in our day-to-day lives. How did you take care of this, Maulik?
Cybersecurity is the art of protecting networks, devices, and data from unauthorized access or criminal use, and the practice of ensuring confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. We have to be more vigilant about the way we attend our classes from our electronic devices such as phones, desktops, laptops, etc. Due to our overdependence on virtual communication, cybercrime has seen a drastic spike. According to a report by an online security firm called Semantic Corp, India was ranked the top 5 India was ranked among the top 5 countries to be affected by cybercrime. And to help us tackle this very serious concern, our school had organized an informative and a much needed webinar about cybersecurity by Mr. Arun Soni, a cybersecurity expert who taught us many preventive methods about how not to become a victim of cybercrime. I myself took some precautions like downloading antivirus softwares, not clicking on fraudulent emails or websites, installing firewalls, and not sharing my personal information online. As learned in chapter Cybersecurity in ICT, I have set up strong passwords for different accounts and I keep changing them so they cannot be easily hacked. Now, moving on to netiquette. Netiquette or online etiquette is a set of rules that encourages appropriate and courteous online behavior. These rules are important as they promote communication skills, prevent miscommunications, and help you understand what is socially acceptable when you're working and collaborating online. There are also some etiquettes you need to follow during online classes, and I am going to share a few with them today. First, no caps. There's a time and place for everything, but in most cases, typing all caps is considered shouting, so we must try to avoid it. Second, chat boxes are incorporated into many online classes as a place for students to share ideas and ask questions related to the lesson. It can be a helpful resource or a major distraction. It all depends on how well students know their classroom etiquette. Rather than asking relevant questions or giving clear answers, students might use the chat box to ask irrelevant questions to the discussion or to talk about an unrelated topic. The chat box isn't an instant messenger like you'd use with friends. Treat it like the learning tool it's meant to be, and try not to distract your classmates with off topic discussions. Third, don't spam. Spamming is not cool. If you're spamming in the Google Meet chat box to someone, you know it is annoying, right? It is like repeating something unwanted near someone's ear over and over again. So do not spam. It is unwanted. Fourth, do not use slang. Using slang can disturb and annoy someone, and more importantly, it can erode someone's confidence in what you have to offer. So, do not use slang while putting up messages in the chat box or writing emails. Fifth, grammar is a must. Always make an effort to use proper punctuations, spellings, and grammars. Trying to decipher a string of misspelled words with erratic punctuations frustrates the reader and distracts from the point of your message. Thank you.
That was an exhaustive list. Thank you, Maulik. Those are some very effective and informative insights, especially about the passwords. I know a lot of people who use passwords like password 123 or just 1234 or 000 or even their birth dates. It's a bad idea to have passwords like these. These are very easy to crack. So basic security measures like setting stronger passwords go a long way in averting cyber attacks, along with all the other measures you shared with us. These are very helpful and help us ensure security. Thank you for sharing this most valuable piece of information with us. We have seen and heard our experts share their thoughts and experiences about online learning. I believe that most of us will agree with me that online learning is more flexible and convenient as compared to a normal school. What is your opinion on this, Niket?
Definitely. Online learning allows some great flexibility, like being able to join classes from anywhere, so far as you have internet available. For instance, my family had to visit Pune this week, but I'm able to attend this webinar from Pune as well. Online learning offers a great deal of convenience as well. For example, if a student was sick, he would not be able to come to school to learn for that day, and as a result would miss out on everything that was taught. However, because of online learning, that sick person can attend the class virtually and not miss out on what was taught that day. And as an added bonus, he would not be infecting anyone in the class. It can also serve as a convenience when it comes to making notes. If you're like me, you'd like making notes when class is going on so that you can remember what was going on in class. Unlike in regular school, where you write on a notebook, online school offers the choice of typing your notes on the computer, which can act as a convenience in multiple ways. For starters, it is easier to edit and manage your notes when typing compared to writing them out. It is also more convenient to put away and bring back your notes when typing, as everything is already stored inside the computer. This way, you won't be wasting time frantically searching around for your notes when needed. Online school is a convenience in yet another way as well. You can study at the comforts of your own home. Because of this, you don't have to leave your house to go to school anymore, meaning that less traffic jams are occurring on the roads. In fact, the website TomTom.com reported that the traffic congestion went down by 32% when compared to last year.
I agree with you, Niket. It's very flexible indeed. In fact, I myself am in Dubai right now. I am sure that most of us present here will want some of these amazing practices to continue even after we go back to our school. So, audience, what aspects of online learning or sessions do you think should continue after the pandemic? Panelists, you could also add your thoughts on this.
In my opinion, I feel the tech tool Coggle should be continued to be used as it helps us to complete our group projects at the comfort of our homes.
I agree with you, Rakshant. I also think some of the assessments should be taken online.
We can continue to upload our homework and assignments on Google Drive as it is more efficient and organized, and most importantly, it is paperless.
Some of the assessment tools, such as quizzes and Kahoot, can be used to conduct revisions after every chapter. They help you revise what is going to be taught in the test and have a leaderboard of who got the most questions right. This way, it contains a competitive spirit to answer the most questions right and come first.
Now, we have come to the last and final question for the day. We certainly feel that virtual classroom and e-learning is the future of education. You would like your parting thoughts on this, panelists? 20, would you like to add to this? Cheryl, would you like to add?
There have been many schools, there have been many online classes, and some schools have a few e-classes. I feel it won't be long before e-learning will be preferred to offline schooling.
Technology is taking the world by storm. I have no doubt that as time passes, e-learning will no longer be a stranger to us. In fact, many schools are already adopting new technology in order to teach more effectively. The AR/VR labs in our school is one of the best examples of this.
E-learning can be implemented into school by several apps, like Microsoft Sway and PowerPoint, to teach to the class a certain topic. Other apps, such as Quizlet, can be used to reinforce the topics that are being taught in school. These tools make school life so much more easier and convenient. This is why I believe that e-learning will be preferred in the future.
Thank you, panelists. We are now opening the forum to our audience. You can post your questions in the chat box. We will be happy to take a few questions. Tasneem ma'am has asked, didn't you feel you're straining your eyes too much with the online classes? Would anyone like to answer this?
I'll answer that. Yes, we are straining our eyes a little bit with online classes, but that's why we have a 10-minute break in between each class. In that, we can rest or walk around. And after that, after our classes, we can cut down on gaming or other things where we use the gadgets so that we get enough rest for our eyes.
Ruxar ma'am has asked, which subject do you enjoy learning the most and why?
I'll answer that. I think my favorite subject during online classes is definitely English because of the website Coggle. It gives It helps me understand complex information in a much better and clearer way.
Mansi ma'am has asked, what are some of the health-related challenges that you have faced during the online classes?
I can answer that. So, one of the most common health related challenges that you can experience during online classes would obviously be like eye problems because you're constantly spending hours on end in being at the screen to attend school. But like Cheryl said, that's why the school gives 10-minute breaks to go wash your eyes and stay away from school, and stay away from the computer.
I would like to add to this. Our e-learning classes are also we do it while sitting for a long time. This also reduces our physical activity. Shipa ma'am has asked, do you think that e-learning will have a role in the future when the pandemic ends?
I'll answer that. Yes, I do think it will have a role, as a lot of people find it more convenient than offline schooling.
We have another question from Nisha ma'am. Do you miss all the physical activities?
I'll answer that. We obviously miss physical activities, but our school has arranged some co-curricular activities like dance, PE to maintain our physical strength.
Vidika ma'am has also asked, which amongst the assessment tools were more comfortable, exam.net or Google Forms?
I'll also answer that. I believe exam.net was a better tool because we had more space to write our answers rather than the Google Forms. Also, exam.net did not allow the students to switch tabs.
We
I'd like
have
to add,
another,
um,
sorry.
I'd like to add to that. Exam.net is also more versatile since you can type your answers, but in Google Forms you can only do MCQ based questions and answers.
Luxa ma'am has asked, since exams were conducted, was it easier to give exams on exam.net or sitting in the classroom?
I can answer this. Because exams were conducted online instead of normally being in school where you wrote your exams, online exams featured you typing in the answers. Personally, I felt this was a whole lot more easier. As when I wrote the exams when we were in offline school, I remember having like constant hand cramps every single time when I left. So I feel like this is more easier on my hands. So naturally, I prefer online in tests.
Mansi ma'am has asked, do you enjoy dancing in front of the camera? Would anyone like to answer this?
Yeah, I think I'll answer. Some people are definitely shy to just dance in front of everybody, but dancing in front of a camera is different than dancing in front of many people. You can dancing in front of many people makes you shy and you don't want to dance, but dancing in front of a camera is like you you know that you dance like nobody's watching you, and you can just dance in front of a camera, and more people who are really who are shy and an introvert can dance in front of a camera.
This has been a very interactive question and answer session. Thank you audience for being active and thank you panelists once again. Charles Darwin said that it is not the strongest or the most intelligent who will survive, but those who can best manage change. E-learning and online mode is definitely challenging from several aspects, and has forced many students and teachers all over the world to move out of their comfort zones, to unlearn the old ways, and to learn something new. In this webinar, we have heard our expert panelists enlighten us on the ways in which virtual learning has been challenging yet beneficial to all of us, and made us tech savvy and Gen Z learners in its true sense. To conclude, I would like to say that e-learning is the future of education. I would like to congratulate all my peers and teachers at TIS for being adaptable to this new generation's technological advancements and becoming the Gen Z teachers. I would like to give a round of applause. With this, we have come to the end of our webinar. Thank you to all our participants who joined this webinar. I hope this was a fruitful one. I would also thank our panelists for enlightening everyone on the lessons learned through virtual classroom. Thank you everyone. Have a great day ahead. Bye.